So where was Pocahontas married in 1614? Join me today on Walk with History as we talk about the Jamestown Settlement in Jamestown, Virginia. So here I am at a colonial Jamestown, and we're going to talk a little bit about Pocahontas today. So again, about myself, Jen, Walk with History, historian, museum professional. I like to bring history to my viewers, to talk about how history impacts us today. So this statue of Pocahontas is here at the Jamestown Settlement. It was put up in 1922, and she's wearing traditional Native American clothing with moccasins and beads and a feather in her hair. They believe she was born in 1595 and probably 15 miles from this area here. She made frequent visits, and they believe she saved the life of Captain John Smith twice. So we're going to talk a little bit about John Smith. There's a statue to him here as well. In April of 1613, she's kidnapped by colonialists. She's held as a hostage. She converts to Christianity, and it's in 1614 that she's going to marry John Rolfe. And when she marries him, she's going to marry him at a church here. There's an outline to where the church actually was. We'll go over and look at it. And then she bears a son in 1615. It's in 1616 she goes to England with their infant son Thomas, and she dies March 21st, 1617. She's buried at the St. George Church, actually, in England. So this is the Jamestown Settlement site in 1607. James Fort is the heart of the first settlement here. And May 13th, 1607, they planted roots of what became the United States of America.
To America.
So this is it. This is the church where Pocahontas is married. If we walk inside, they found, when they exhumed this church, they found 4 bodies buried here. They believe of church elders. These are what the walls would have looked like right here. Pocahontas was married here in April of 1614. It actually marked the beginning of peace between the Native Americans and the colonialists here for a time. And it was a very significant event to happen. So it's in 1616 that John Smith writes a letter to Queen Anne. Pocahontas is about to go to England, and John Smith writes a letter kind of preceding her visit. And he writes a letter to Queen Anne, and he says in this letter to Queen Anne that his capture included threat of his own death. And at the minute of his execution, she hazarded the beating of her own brains to save mine. And not only that, but also prevailed with her father that he was safely conducted to Jamestown. So John Smith gives Pocahontas the credit for saving his life there. And you've seen it depicted before, but that's a true account from a letter that he wrote to Queen Anne telling her how Pocahontas saved his life. And that's the statue to John Smith right there. So again, Pocahontas is said to have saved his life more than once, and he credits her with putting her own life in danger to save his. So pretty awesome statue up there. If you like these videos, please subscribe. We also have a podcast called Talk with History. And there's also the History Buzz, where my husband and I, the producer of this show, meet with colleagues and friends and talk about how history has impacted us in our lives over a couple drinks. If you like some of the t-shirts and stickers, we have a gift shop as well. So please like and subscribe to Walk with History. This is an interesting part of colonial Jamestown. If you ever heard of the facial reconstruction of the English girl Jane, they found pieces of a skeleton in this archaeological dig. This is the cellar kitchen, and the partial skull and leg bone of a girl were found, and they recreated her face with facial reconstruction, and they were able to kind of say she was 14 years old, and she starved, and that people were kind of, there's some reports of cannibalism at this time. Her true story and identity is never really known, but this is a time when people were so hungry, and they basically were starved. So I leave colonial Jamestown, I like to think of Pocahontas because I think she's such a brave and amazing woman. There's history of her coming here to the colonies and befriending Smith when they were starving. Every once in 4 or 5 days, Pocahontas and her attendants brought Smith so much provision that saved many of their lives, or they would have starved of hunger. So she just really was an instrumental woman in helping to establish the American colonies and just saving people's lives. She made an impact, and an impact is definitely felt today. So thank you for joining me on this walk with history. I hope you learned something about Pocahontas. We got to see one of the first English weddings in the American colonies take place, and just a very important event in American history. Join me on my next walk with history.